startup. I think it's called Emma, EMA, that is creating this AI virtual employee. The idea of actually selling AI as a set of roles that can take over for hopefully some of the scut work that people are doing, but also I would imagine some of the white collar work that is very logic driven and probably better done by computers.
Yeah, so well, let's see. What did we make it? I didn't track when we started this. I think we made it 10 whole minutes without talking about AI on this episode. And that's all
Oops.
we have left to talk about. Everything else is going to be some touching AI in some way. But so I actually think this article was in TechCrunch because I know we'll have the
Mhm.
links afterward. But
All right.
what what
Uh-huh.
what I think is interesting about this to me is how little newsworthy this is, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't seen obviously the product, and so I'll be very curious. Maybe there's some breakthroughs. I think it's noteworthy mostly because the founders have some very deep pedigrees. There's some very well-regarded funds that are, people that have invested in it.
Mhm.
But what I think is fascinating is we've been talking about this idea of the virtual employee for a very long time now, to varying degrees of success. Automation Anywhere on the RPA side has been talking about
Mhm.
their virtual workers. I mean, they probably coined this entire space for a long time now. There's a company called Amelia, which came from the IT ops space, which has a conversational AI agent that also has a sort of persona base that does a lot of this, has a really amazing technology. I think does a great job. There's another company called Soul Machines that
Mhm.
has avatar based things that can serve. You can literally have it in a store and have this avatar that comes and provides. I mean, so and on and on and on. I mean, I just barely scratched the surface, but there's all these companies that have been doing versions of this virtual employee at different layers, to varying degrees of success. And
Mhm.
so unless this is some amazing breakthrough technology that we haven't seen, I was almost left scratching my head. But what I do think is it points to all of those companies that I just described. Well, Automation Anywhere obviously has been very successful, but really just based on the core of their RPA. The all the rest of these have sort of struggled with people adopting this idea of an avatar-ish based
Mhm.
interaction with a virtual employee and having them do a job. It's just a tough nut to crack as far as mentally to get over this hang up. There's I'm trying to remember who it was, one of the telecom, Five9 maybe, actually
Mhm.
licensed their product like that, right? They had a call center agent, a virtual call center agent, and you literally hired, 100 agents, and
Mhm.
what that meant is no different than a human agent could take one call. A virtual agent, every virtual agent you hire could take one call at a time, and that's how they license it. And I found it interesting, but I think all of these companies have sort of struggled to get over that hurdle of it's just a very different way of thinking, how we approach it, right? It's not how we purchase technology. It's not how we've deployed technology. But I do think that this whole era of generative AI is causing us, causing the general populace to shift and to become much more attuned and open to this idea. So maybe this may be one of those companies, right place, right time, not the first, but maybe with just enough of a different spin at the right moment, and boom, it lights on fire. So we'll see. They seem to have a lot of traction just coming out of stealth. So we'll see.
Yes. So this is the latest in many attempts. I think all the way going, going all the way back to IBM Watson, and maybe even before that. The IBM Watson Health, IBM Watson, XYZ. There were so many attempts by IBM to get to this point, and back then, a decade ago, part of the challenge was uh, creating a rules-based approach that would allow you to imitate a role, and it never quite got there. Rules based was good enough to win Jeopardy, but not good enough to replace your average customer service rep. So in some ways, the average customer service representative is smarter than Ken Jennings. So there's that for them, going for them. But I think it'll be interesting to see how this works. The founders, as you mentioned, one from Google, one from Okta, obviously companies that have done a lot in the tech space. Um, so we'll see if that technological expertise plus venture funding will lead to getting to that next step.
Yeah, I
I,
think it'll be really interesting to see if it really just changes the way people buy. I think
Mhm.
that's really what the question is going to be. I mean, I think where these things always where the entire concept falls down is that that's not how the technology is ultimately deployed. It's deployed like almost any other technology.
Mhm.
And so, it's we'll see. We'll see if it gets traction this time around.